Say what you will about BMW styling, but I think they really nailed the proportions on this one. Look at it from the side profile. It really looks great, and one thing I really love about BMW's coupes is how the rear trunk is really pronounced. It kind of looks sedanish. Maybe not to the point like the E30 did, but it really looks cool, and I personally think that it's kind of been lost in the later generations, in the F80 and the most recent G80. Let's move to the front. Here we got the famous power dome on the hood. It's not just a styling feature. Underneath we got the famous S65 power plant. We'll get to that later. We got those two intake holes. One of them is fake. It's up to you to guess which one is it. And this particular car got the competition treatment. Well, not exactly, because the front lip, which looks good, real great, it lowers the stance from the front. It's actually made by Forsteiner, but I believe it's based on the competition front lip, maybe in the M Performance. We got the competition wheels, 19-inch, 255 section in the front, 285 I believe in the back. We got the carbon roof, which not only looks great, but it also lowers the center of gravity. At least that's what BMW keeps telling us. In the front we also got the Forsteiner lip and the Eisenmann exhaust tips. And those pretty post-LCI LED tail lamps, which really look better than the pre-LCI ones. Okay, enough of this beating around the bush. Let's get to the point. Okay, let's open this really big, pronounced hood with power dome, and let's see what's underneath. And that's what makes this generation E90, E92 M3 special. Okay, let's get to it. Are you ready for monster truck madness? Oh yeah, baby. Rock and roll. Actually, you can see shit because of this plastic cover, but underneath those 8 scoops we got individual throttle bodies, and that's what makes BMW and power engines really special, because until very recently even Porsche on their GT3 engines, they didn't have ITBs. Okay, we got one cylinder bank here, the other one here, covered with the plastic cover, air filter. Earlier on I asked you if you knew which one of the air intakes was fake. Obviously it's the left one, because we don't have the air filter on the left. On the S85 in the E60 M5 we got 2 air filters on both sides. Here we got only one, so this scoop is real with this air intake. This one isn't, it's blank. Okay, let's move on to the interior, shall we? Okay, we got these leather bolsters, look great. Fabric rest of the seat, which maybe it doesn't look so great, but it's really practical because your body doesn't move around when you're driving fast. That's what BMW M3 is made for, kids. Okay. Keyless access. My ass. Okay. What a feeling. Yeah. Okay. Let's close the door. Okay. So the interior. It's a bit of mixed bag because I've never been a huge fan of the E90 interiors. It kind of looks simplistic with those straight lines. If I were to be honest, I prefer the E46 interior, but quality-wise, it's nothing to complain about. This trim is really well put together. The F80, I'm looking at you here. Okay, everything is well put together. This middle section plastic is not so great, but it's well screwed together, so no reason to complain. The iDrive controller, it looks kind of small and funny when you compare it to the modern ones. Here we got the switch for the DCT Ferocity. Okay, and the hi-fi on this one is not really great. Obviously the guy who configured this car, the previous owner, was not an audiophile, so we got I believe the second worst hi-fi, so it's nothing to write home about, but it's kind of okay. What else? Okay, let's start the engine. Yeah! As I said before, this car has the optional DCT transmission. Normally, I wouldn't be very happy about this because I'm not a huge fan of automatic transmissions. But there's two reasons why I'm really happy this car has it. One is that BMW's manual transmissions are not great. They're kind of notchy. They don't have the crispness of, for example, Porsche ones, so not a great addition to a sports car. And the other thing is that this transmission really adds to the experience. Maybe it kind of detracts from the experience because you don't have the third pedal, but it really complements the S65 power plant because it really does know where to shift, how to shift to get in the sweet power band. Because this engine, mind you, regardless of what BMW say, it doesn't have very wide power band. It needs to stay in the right revs to get going. We'll get to that later, but trust me, this tranny really knows what it's doing, and it's doing its job real great. And shame on you, BMW, I need to say this, shame on you for ditching DCT for the ZF Auto tranny in the new G80. Shame on you. Okay, we got Genesis on. But who cares about the sound system when you got this DS65 under the hood? Okay, enough of this theory, let's put it into practice, let's give it some. Okay, let's take a look at the fuel economy. We got 16.4, yeah! people. Well, that's exactly what you get when driving around the town in this car. The funny thing is, when BMW were introducing this car and this engine, the S65, they claimed that the new power plant, despite having 2 more cylinders compared to its predecessor, was not only lighter, but also more fuel economical. Well, BMW, they claimed that it was achieved by using some very advanced knock sensor. I believe it was called ionic knock sensor, individual per each cylinder, and its job was to keep the mixture as lean as possible, to keep the fuel economy as good as possible. Well, BMW, that didn't work out as planned. Okay, now it's time to share some driving impressions. First of all, maybe a little backstory on this engine, on this car. Well, it's like most of you know, back in mid-2000s, BMW were heavily involved in Formula 1. They were developing engines for the Sauber F1 team. And at some point, somebody at Munich thought, well, since we have all the know-how, all the expertise behind those high-revving V10 engines, why don't we put one in a road car? So in the 2005 they did that, and that's how the famous E92 M3 came to being. It was car like no wonder, because you until that point there was no other 4-seater, no other limousine with a high-revving V10 engine, because the Audi S6 doesn't count, and actually it was released, I think, later on, after the 60. However, this E92 M3 was something of a gem, because it was unique that putting a high-revving short-stroke V10 engine in a family car. Later on it turned out to be a mixed bag, but that's a topic for another day. Today we're driving the smaller, younger brother of the E92 M3. Okay, so 2 years after the 60, BMW kind of sliced 2 cylinders of the S85 engine, and that's how the S65 was created, more or less. So the takeaway of the story is that every S65 engine has some Formula 1 pedigree in it. How much of the Formula 1 pedigree, we're not sure. BMW fanboys, enthusiasts want to believe that all the BMW F1 knowledge and expertise went into design and production of this car. And the car is pretty much stock, except for the Meisterschaft exhaust system, like I mentioned before, and the GTS DCT tune, which makes for a quicker shifting time, and a soft remap. In total it makes 440 brake horsepower, so we're not making any guesses here. It has been dynoed. It makes the power all the way up to fuel cutoff at 86 RPM. So I'm guessing it's about as fast as a stock non-competition F80 M3, 100 to 200. Suspension-wise, this car, equipped with the EDC, is surprisingly comfortable. In the EDC 0, which is off for the sports suspension, it's noticeably more comfortable than the F80. Yeah, you get a little bit of body roll more in the than in the F80 chassis, but it's more comfortable and I think more suitable for daily driving. When you put it in EDC1, you get a little bit less body roll, more control, but on the other hand, it's not meant to be driven on bumpy roads, so you get a bit of mixed bag. When you put it in the EDC2, it gets, I would say, on par with the F80 competition. It gets rough and harsh, and I would not recommend driving it on B roads in the EDC2. So leave it in comfortable, and you're good to go. As far as steering is concerned, that's another area when I think that the next generation is kind of has taken a little step back, because in the F80 generation BMW were making baby steps in the electronic power steering, and you can feel that the F80 steering is kind of detached from the driving experience. Here we got the hydraulic power assistance, and I think maybe outside the E92 1 Series 1M it's as good as BMW gets when it comes to steering. So pretty communicative, pretty direct. You get a lot of feedback from the steering. Overall, would I recommend this car for car enthusiasts, for BMW enthusiasts? I don't need to recommend this to BMW enthusiasts, because the E92 generation has some kind of cult following in the media, on the internet, so no need to do that. But if you're new to the BMW world, if you want to get some of this famous Freude am Fahren, yeah, by all means try that, because it's the odd one in the M3 family. It's the only one, the last one, with a naturally aspirated V8. BMW did that only once, well, save for the GTR in the E46, but that was a homologation special, so it doesn't count in. I've never seen one in real life, so it doesn't count in. But the E90, E92, E93 is a really special car, because the newer ones, say the G80, is more of the F80 technology, just improved. But this one, it won't repeat in the M3 lineage, so you got to appreciate it. I would say that this engine, the S65, is as close to a, I would say, Ferrari V8 as you can get in a German car, especially when it's looked after properly, when it's making its advertised power. Like this car, 440, we got plenty of performance.